23. He passed judgment. With the mana that had been made to settle now wrapping around his body, the fever had gone down, but in another sense he was still flushed. Steadying his ragged breathing, Saikaira slowly pushed himself up. His body, sticky with sweat and other fluids, was cleaned easily by Aresh with magic, and then he was kissed again. It was so convenient that he found himself wondering if a kiss was really an adequate price. His sense of normal was seriously dulled. "Does anything hurt?" asked in a hoarse voice after sex. Saikaira finally remembered he'd been assaulted. He tried moving the places that had been bruised and the arm that had probably been broken. "No, I'm fine." He thanked him again, then looked around, spotting a door he vaguely recognized and guessing this was the medical bureau. After being beaten and kicked by those thugs, he'd lost consciousness, and the next thing he remembered was being treated by the man in front of him. There was a gap. Someone must have carried him here. He'd been lucky. Thinking he needed to thank that person too, he started dressing. His clothes were stained with his blood in places and torn in others. Aresh asked if he should clean them with magic, but Saikaira shook his head. This was fine as it was. Aresh? It's about time. Is it okay to come in now?" The timid voice from beyond the door was Shiro's. Knowing exactly what the two of them had been doing, Shiro still called out like that. Saikaira couldn't say he felt no embarrassment. He opened the door, and froze when he saw the second person there. "Chancellor Kalvada? Ah, so you're finally done. That took a while." Saying that, the man who calmly shut the book in his hands with a soft snap was Camel, the highest political authority in the kingdom. "Why is he here?" Seeing Saikaira's confusion, Shiro explained that it was Camel who had found him and carried him in. That must have been a huge inconvenience." "No, it's fine. I'm just glad you're safe." Camel's composed smile made Saikaira feel endlessly apologetic, until a thought struck him. Wasn't this an unbelievably fortunate, convenient situation? "So, who were the ones who assaulted you?" The moment Aresh sat down, he demanded it, not so much asking as interrogating, the air around him turning cold. Saikaira spoke calmly. "This isn't what you think, Commander." Orzif, the Third Night Order's vice-commander, watched the two knights clinging to Aresh with faces gone pale, his expression like he'd bitten into something bitter. Aresh had abruptly summoned the two knights and Orzif to his office. Orzif was the only one who'd tilted his head in confusion. The two knights exchanged glances as if they already knew what this was about. Those two had the kind of arrogance that came from wearing the Third Night Order name, and they were the type who often stormed into accounting to complain about expenses. So Orzif assumed accounting had finally reported them to Aresh. To be fair, Orzif had known and hadn't stopped it. And the old Aresh, lately showing more motivation for work, would usually have ignored things like that. But the moment they entered, it was obvious this was on another level. The air coming off Aresh was brutally cold and heavy. Was he even leaking mana? Orzif could endure it, but the two younger knights were visibly struggling to breathe, panting shallowly. "What's going on, Aresh?" "Harvey Morales. Mash Nieves. Yesterday, during the water hour. Where were you?" The two knights flinched, shared a quick look, and the older one, Mash, answered. "We were checking expedition supplies before afternoon training. The two of us were organizing the storage. That would be the storage room on the second floor of the East Wing." "Yes. I see. Then this scrap of cloth is definitely from one of you." Aresh produced a small, pinched piece of fabric, its color familiar. Looking closely, Harvey's uniform trousers were slightly torn at the hem. "Ah, why yes. I must have caught it on something during inspection." "I see. Incidentally, yesterday a civil official was found collapsed after being assaulted." "Huh." Orzif reacted. Then a cold sweat ran down his spine as he recognized where this was going. The official was a ranked officer, beaten and kicked by multiple assailants. He lost consciousness with extensive bruising, fractured ribs, and a broken arm. He was found in the East Wing second-floor storage. "No way." Orzif flicked his eyes toward the two. They didn't lift their heads. Could that ranked civil official be the Saintus's extra? Saintus's extra. That's what they called Saikaira Kondo, deputy submanager of accounting. The ordinary man who had tagged along with the Saintus's summoning had no ability whatsoever, couldn't even eat normally due to lack of miasma tolerance, and yet sat in the royal accounting office sticking his nose into palace finances. That's what people said, mostly those in departments whose budgets had been cut. It was broadly accurate. And lately, it was also famous that he ate lunch with Aresh, commander of the Third Night Order. There were even rumors you weren't allowed to give Kondo food or drink without Aresh's permission. Orzif had assumed most of it was exaggerated. Aresh barely cared about anyone. Even eating with someone was rare enough to grow tails. Yes. Do you know something? No, we just passed him in the hallway after we left the storage. So, that happened afterward. Mash made a suitably pained face, but Aresh stared down at him with the same unchanged expression, ice cold. Orzif knew that look. That look on his cousin 6 years younger was the look he wore when he was truly angry. The victim says that during the assault, he tore off the culprit's hem on a nail that had fallen to the floor. What? Ah, so it was them. Orzif wanted to look up at the heavens. Why would you do something that stupid? It's a frame-up. Commander, you can't seriously believe the words of some nobody whose origins aren't even known. Exactly. And he was unconscious, right? Then isn't it more likely that whoever found him is trying to pin this on the Third Night Order? Their desperate voices were cut through by a knock, and the office door opened slowly. Excuse the interruption. See, Chancellor. A rose-blonde, blue-mantled middle-aged man entered. Camel, the highest political authority in the kingdom, followed by his secretary. Orzif and the others hurriedly bowed. Camel lifted a hand, stopping them, and Aresh spoke. The one who found Kondo and rendered aid was Chancellor Kalvada. The two knights audibly sucked in breath. I could hear you from outside. So, what is it that I supposedly did? Camel narrowed his blue-gray eyes. The two knights couldn't answer, just opening and closing their mouths. Camel's gaze settled on Mash, and he pressed harder. This is your second time, isn't it? Do you remember meeting me in front of accounting before? Mash's memory snapped into place, and sweat poured down his forehead. Back then, that Saintess's extra had been given a position, brazenly, by this very chancellor. Right. Why had he forgotten? That worn-out, powerless man was connected to the chancellor. Saikaira was in terrible shape. If he'd been left there, he might have died. It wasn't that bad. Harvey's weak denial was basically a confession. Camel ignored it, tilting his head with deliberate elegance. Oh, you didn't know? Because he's an otherworlder, he has no resistance to miasma or mana, so ordinary medicine and holy magic can't treat him. They'd heard rumors about miasma tolerance, but everyone flinched. If neither medicine nor magic worked, even a scratch could be fatal. That's why he needs special treatment, and the one who treated him, broken to pieces, was your superior standing right there. They stiffened and turned their eyes back to Aresh, who remained expressionless, his cold fury unchanged. In other words, the man they'd assaulted had been rescued by the country's highest authorities and treated by their own commander. You've also been repeatedly confronting Kondo over expenses. Multiple witnesses have confirmed it. With no way out, the two knights trembled, faces drained of color. Why would you do something like this? Orzif's words slipped out, and Harvey latched onto him desperately. And no, Vice Commander. We were incited. Incited? Pardon the intrusion. With a knock, the door opened again. A sharp-looking man in a green cloak, late 30s, entered, dragging along a sickly pale man. Green was the Second Night Order's color, tasked with guarding royalty and key persons. And for that cloak to be there meant. Commander Redeem, commander of the Second Night Order, didn't even glance at Orzif. He shoved the man in the green-trimmed uniform forward. I brought him. That guy. That's him. He told us to teach the Saintess's extra his place. He's the one who pulled us into it. As Orzif tried to calm Harvey down, he realized with a chill that he recognized the pale man's face. Young, handsome. From the Saintess's guard. Was that really enough? In the office left behind after the thugs were removed, Orzif was still stunned when Saikaira walked out from the inner room, used as the commander's private quarters. Redeem spoke first. Saikaira's wounds had already been healed by Aresh. Still pale as ever, now wearing a fresh uniform, Saikaira nodded. Yes, the punishment for the three men was 1 week of confinement, a no-contact order regarding Saikaira, a 1-year pay cut, and compensation. Shouldn't their knight status have been revoked? At Camel's words, Saikaira shook his head. No, knights are a scarce profession, and with the upcoming exploration of the Demon Forest, we can't afford to reduce the numbers of the Second Order, who protect key persons, or the Third Order, who have strong mana resistance. Even so, a week is too short. No, it's long enough. Confinement is only worth as much as publicizing that they caused trouble. I'd rather have them working. A pay cut was fine. Knights were highly paid, so it helped the treasury. And then there was the compensation. With medical costs included, I'll be collecting exactly 1 million are from the three of them. 10 million yen, though in Saikaira's mind, he intended to use it as payment for Aresha's magic up to now. But why money? Given everything, shouldn't a punishment that cut down their pride and dignity be more effective? But Saikaira blinked his shadowed eyes and answered flatly. Because the only thing they had that both sides could recognize as valuable was money. A title, knighthood, honor, none of that meant anything to Saikaira. More importantly, after this incident the kingdom will officially declare me a protected person. And I've gained leverage over both the second and third knight orders. So we can accelerate the Saintess's expedition to the Demon Forest. That will cut a huge amount of expenses. Look, Chancellor Calvada. I put the expedition cost calculations into a document last night. Oh, show me, Saikaira. As Saikaira happily held the papers out and Camel reached for them, Aresha's large frame cut between them. Wait, Kondo. You suffered serious injuries yesterday and used up stamina in treatment. I told you, over and over, to rest. Ah, crap. It showed clearly on Saikaira's face. Aresha's anger exploded. Watching it all unfold, the Chancellor, who discreetly snatched the papers from Saikaira and hurriedly had his secretary hide them, the second Knight Commander, who had tried to leave but missed his chance, and the third Knight Vice Commander, who rarely saw his cousin talk this much, ended up having to stand there and observe for a while.